welcome to my channel. So today I wanted to walk through my process for planning out a cosplay. I'm not normally as thorough as I'm going to be in this video, but I am doing, I've been pronouncing it Guilietta, but I think it's Guilietta. I'm doing her ceremonial gown from the cover of this Sakizou, the Engraved Witch in a Fantasy World book. And I want it to be so spectacular that I'm able to get into a crown championship. So to do that, I'm going to be very, very thorough in my planning and think everything through. And I also want to try to keep some form of budget when I'm doing this. So I'm really bad at budgeting. If you haven't seen my Cosmos Fairy build budget reveal video, I'll put it up somewhere so that you can go see that. I was surprised by the amount of money that I spent. So to help me accomplish this, I actually made a cosplay planner. So this is a prototype. If I wind up liking how it goes, I'm going to finish out the cover, add some graphics and stickers, and it might be something that I have at my booth in case other people are interested in trying it. But personally, I think it's going to just really help me. So this is the prototype. I'm going to work through it, see how it goes. I don't anticipate it looking quite like this. Obviously, the cover is empty. There's no back cover, and I'm not a fan of this paper and the binding, but it's just to test. So I'm going to use this and see if this gets me through my Sakizou build. So opening this up, I have a little introduction that I wrote up, and the place for stickers, I have not made the custom stickers for this yet. I'm going to just purchase some stickers from Amazon to use in the prototype, but I am planning on making some custom stickers. And then the first section is design. So this is what I'm going to spend my time on in this video, and how I'm going to actually plan out this design. So my first pages I have for reference images. So I did go ahead and print up some images that I found. Obviously the cover, and then this is a page from the book, but these two images are not from the book. I'm not sure, I guess Sakizou just made additional images, but I'm going to include these in here. This is just so I don't have to carry around my $35 book into my cosplay room and accidentally damage it. This book is beautiful and I don't want to ruin it. So I thought having a reference image section in here makes sense. So, and I printed up, as you can see, I have 3 different versions of artwork for this dress, and they're all different. In particular, this one, which is on page 16, I think, this looks very different from these two. So I'm including it for some reference, but my main ones are actually going to be these two. So I'm just going to tape these in here, and I'm going to use packing tape because I don't have regular tape. Also, I thought this might be a fun way. So I've always wanted to get into journaling. It's just not something that I can really stick to. But this is actually, I think, a fun way of sort of journaling my progress in this build. And if it does wind up being a bigger build, like I actually do succeed in getting in a crown, maybe placing, it'd be fun to look back on my thoughts. So it's kind of also a keepsake sort of journal on how I plan this. And I just realized that I printed these too big, so I can't tape these in. So I'm just gonna attach them to the top like this, so that I can fold them out as necessary. The next pages that I made are sketches. So this is so I can draw out my plan for the build. So what I'm actually going to do is start on my reference images. Now this is something that I typically do with my cosplays, is I like to actually mark out what fabrics go where. So for example, I'm going to be using a combination of velvet and satin. I've thought about this a lot. So these flat pieces up here, I want to be satin. And then I also want this to be satin. But I want this bottom piece to be velvet. I have some micro velvet that it just ruffles so beautifully, and I think that it'll take this gathering really well. But on top of it, looking at the way that this is painted, it looks like it's painted in watercolors. It feels like the velvet will sort of portray this depth of color that I'm getting here that's not necessarily up here. So I feel like that is going to just give a little difference across the entire cosplay and also reflect the depth of color here. I was originally going to also use it up here, but the way that the color reflects, I just felt like it was maybe more of a matte satin. So I'm also going to do the dark red in velvet, but this light pink in satin. And then I want, what do I want the sleeve to be? I think I also want that to be velvet. And then the corset itself is also going to be velvet. So is the collar, so is the earpiece. I'm going to make my own appliques. So as you can see, there's two different styles of applique. Here and here. I think I'm gonna go with this style of applique because I can see the detail a bit better than here. So I'm gonna make my own applique. And then I've been looking at some fabric, so I think that the trim here and up here is going to be a metallic cotton. This, I don't know if I'm gonna make my own lace here. So I'm gonna put custom lace with a question mark. I don't know how I want to accomplish this part yet. It may actually be an applique, so let me put that note here. Applique on some mesh. Ooh, I also want to make a note out to the side that I'm going to use beads and sequins on these appliques after they're made, just for some extra sparkle. And then I had decided that on these lace sleeves, I am going to embroider. Hi, Sunny. Hi, Sunny Bunny. This is Mr. Bun Bun. He doesn't like it when I do things without him, so he's going to apparently be our buddy for a bit. So I was going to embroider maybe some satin or some cotton for this part only. And then this, I'm going to make my own lace. Make lace. Same thing with the lace up by the bust. I want to try and make that, and the lace around the collar, and the lace on the headpiece. This part of the headpiece is going to be beads and chain. This is going to be embroidered. I think I'm gonna make the daffodils. Let's see, let's do this. I'm gonna make the daffodils out of foam, clay, or warbler. We'll decide when we get there. The ruffs, I have to do more research in ruffs, so I'm not gonna note anything there just yet. So I'm gonna say here, custom lace. So here's a fun little snippet that I discovered. I saw a tutorial on how to make a leather corset, and I was very inspired by it. So I decided to pop over here and see if there was anywhere where I could do some leather work. And I looked at the cover and I saw these little details here and this scalloping. I don't know that you can see it. So you can see these little details here, and then you can see the scalloping. And it occurred to me that this front may particularly be some form of chest plate. She has armor here on her. She has a gauntlet, so it could make sense that there's some additional armor on her. So now I have it in my head that the front, I'm going to draw on this a bit. The front piece here is going to be leather. So I want to make a sweetheart bodice, and then this leather armor, I don't know what to call it, will go on front. And then of course put on jewels and beads. But my thought with that is that then I can make this gauntlet out of leather as well, and it will just sort of bring it all together. So now I have leather in a couple places. They can have similar paint jobs and everything. So I thought that would just bring it together. So there's that. I'm gonna have to make a resin gem, which I'm gonna put here because I can see it better. And I didn't notice this, but there's more of this up here. So this might be custom lace as well. Okay. So I finally got to jot down all of my thoughts for materials and how I want to build this costume. So that's how the reference image page is intended to work. The sketch your ideas. Could seem a bit redundant, but not for me. So essentially, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna look at the bodice. This red part's going to be separate from the white part now. So I need to make a sweetheart bodice. I'm just gonna, ooh, I don't like that. I'm just gonna do a quick little doodle here for the bodice. And I think I'll have it point down. And I have my bodice pattern has a seam that runs down the middle. So I think what I will do, oh, and then there'll be a seam here. So to accommodate these stripies, I think what I'll do is cover the seam in gold. And I'll just say gold trim for now. Sort of like that. And then of course it has this, ooh, I might be able to do a leather trim on top. And then it's going to have maybe the lace. Okay, so that's the bodice. Underbust corset. So what's interesting about this, I don't think I mentioned it, but so I thought about making this out of leather because these little details here kind of look like buckles. So what I think I'm going to do is on the side of the corset, I'm going to put a leather buckle. I'm going to do buckles, and then this leather piece will just buckle in place. I think that'll look really good. And then I would go through and make any other notes. I do want to make a note on the skirt. And I made lots of pages so that I can keep jotting down plenty of ideas and then build notes. So anything that I just thought of, I can actually jot down instead of sketching out. And then fabric swatches. I actually have swatches on the waist. When they get here, I'm going to cut a little square and tape them in, and then I can take those pieces and use them in my build book later. And then I also put a spot for like the amounts, like how much do I need, the price, and then I know it's a little silly, but jotting down the URL, it's more for like stores. Like I know that I have some coming from Mood, so I just put Mood fabric. I should probably change that to store. Material notes. So I know that I want velvet, and I know that I want satin. I'm going to need leather. There's going to be beads, sequins. I figured I can list them here. I can add notes about it. Skills to learn. This is just so I know what I need to do. So I need to learn leather working, and there's actually an online like course I'm going to take to learn that. And then I also need to know lace making. And this allows me to jot down anything specific with this, like location, books I want to buy, just anything for the skills that I need to learn. Equipment needed. This is my husband's idea, but it's actually really smart because it's more like a shopping list. So like there's a whole selection of equipment that I'm going to need to purchase for leatherworking and for lace making, so I can jot it down here. And then once I have everything planned out, and I'm probably honestly going to do this in stages, but once I have everything planned out, I can go in and write down how much fabric I need and the cost, and jot it down, total up my budget, and know how much money I need for the entire project. Doesn't mean I have to spend it now, but I'll know how much I need. And then as I go and purchase things, I can check it off. So the next section is to do. I created this because I am a small task person. So I spend all this time planning my bigger project. Hi, sweetie. Planning my bigger project, and then I need to break it down. So I'm going to think about, when I'm doing this build, what is the first thing I want to make? The first thing I want to make is the bodice. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I will break it down into what I need to do. So the first thing I need to do is adjust my pattern. But after the bodice, I'm going to make the skirt. And then I can write down my task. I'm just a task-oriented person. It feels good to accomplish something and then check the box, so that's why I have this section in here. And I don't have to have all of the answers now. This is a place where I'm going to go back and revisit over and over and over again as I work through building this out. So I have thought about this project a lot, so I know I want to start with the bodice, and then I know I'm going to move on to the skirt. I have a start and end date just so I can kind of keep myself on track. I don't know when I'm going to start, probably in late August, early September, so I'm not going to fill that out yet. And I have several of those. So the next section is the calendar. So this is sort of like the main reason I made this, because it is such a big build that I want to stay on track as much as possible. So I'm not going to fill this out yet because I don't quite know when I'm going to start. But essentially, here's how I anticipate this section working. So I jot down the month, let's just say July. I jot down the month July. In July, I know for sure I want to make the bodice and order the materials for the underskirt. So I'll jot that down here, and it's got the check boxes, so that I can keep myself on track and get that dopamine hit every time I complete something. And then over here, I'm going to put July, which actually, now that I think about it, this is redundant because every month has a month page. So I'm going to get rid of that, and then that will give more space for these. So this is so that I can say July, starting on July 1st. So I'd put the 1st up here, and then I can fill out each day, so that I know what day it is, and then I can write my task down for the day. Monday, I want to make sure I order my fabric, so I write that down. Tuesday, I'm going to adjust my pattern. Wednesday, I'm going to cut out the pieces, and like I can just piece it out for that week, and then I can have my goal for the week and get that completed. I also included this budget section down here, so I'm going to make my full budget, which I need to sit down and do. I need to make my full budget, and then I'm going to try and divvy it out over the course of the build so that I don't need all of that money all at once. So if I need to order fabric, which is what this little sticky note is for, I need to move it over, but essentially purchase, I need to order fabric for my bodice, right? So I need to order fabric for my bodice, so I can go online and I can get the, I can break up the budget in weeks or months or whatever. Say I allot myself $200 this week, so I put $200 down. I know I'm going to spend $100 of that. After I purchase it, I'll put down the spend, and then I will subtract the spend from the total. So if I have $1,000 for the whole project, this is where I would subtract the $100 I just spent, so then I put $900. So then the next week, I know I have $900. If I don't spend anything this week, the running total stays $900. This week I spend $50, the running total is now $8.50, and so on and so forth, because I will be referencing my individual weeks more than I'll be referencing my overall budget. So this is so that I can keep the total in like an easy to access place. That's just how my brain works. I don't know that everyone else's will, but if you find that helpful, let me know. But yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do for this build. And I have a note section. This section is specific for interesting things that I did, things that I learned. So if I'm like, like in Cosmos, I 3D printed the core of the heart buns and then wrapped hair around that. I'm gonna jot that down here so that I have specific highlights of what I did this week, and then I can put that in my build book. So in this case, if in July, I plan on making the bodice, and it takes me a whole month to make the bodice, I can say, customized my own pattern, I don't know, embossed velvet, I made my own trim, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but like I can put down the little interesting facts that I did in this section and then reference that when I'm doing my build book later. And there are 12 months in here with 5 weeks each, because sometimes you don't have a perfect 4 weeks in a month. So that's the majority of this section. And then in the very back, which is very unfinished, I have a references section. So if I do wind up making this available for everyone else to use, I will include in the back some references that I use, places where I buy my fabric, places where I buy trim, embellishment, accessories, patterns, and other. And in the very back is a thank you and a QR code to be able to contact me. So, kind of a long video, but I just wanted to go through my thought processes for how I'm planning out a big competition build and give you some ideas on how you can plan out your big competition builds and walk you through my thought process with a new tool I'm trying to develop to make my life a little easier. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to hit the like button, pop any comments or questions or whatever down into the into the comment section below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you like my content, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!